Okay, so my iPad literally ran out of storage, and I hope that I have some for the rest of this, okay? Because I felt like that was so cruel. But point that I was trying to make was, a lot of people talk about those concepts or those things as if they're supposed to come first. But from my experience, they came later. And I had to get to that point. And I say I had to get to that point, but rather it could also be another way to look at it. That point had to get to me. And the way that I like to look at it is God, the universe, spirit, I say God, tried to get me to internalize these things, to resonate with this energy, to be on those frequencies. And the way that God did that was by spoon feeding me little by little, was by giving me, as much as I could take, and just seeing how I metabolize it, internalize it, and then giving me more and more and more and more. And so God earned my trust into faith. God earned or brought me into the energy of those things that I want to manifest. And it all started with God. It all started with the frequency and the energy that God gave me. And so even just the idea, like one heavy thing that's on my mind right now is that idea of you cannot have what you are not. And I just completely disagree. I completely disagree. I think it promotes a sense of elitism. I think it promotes this idea of fear. I think it promotes because how can you ever have what you are not if you are never it until you are? That doesn't make sense. And so the idea that people say, oh, you can't manifest what you're not, you have to align with that energy, like you have to do this and you have to do that. And it's like you have to get to that point somehow though, right? If you start at zero, like is nobody putting the ones and twos, is nobody clicking this together? Like you have to get to this point in some way. And how do you do that? You get to that point by allowing God to give it to you. And that's just my expression of it. Let me see if I can, because I believe in God, and that's the way that I choose to express myself. But I know that there are other ways of expression. And so I'll say, micro exposure. Appreciating the little things. So like, for example, like if I believe in wealth, if I believe like, oh yeah, I'm like a super billionaire, I have to first understand the value of wealth that I already have. I have to see abundance in ways that maybe are not necessarily monetary forms of abundance, but identifying with that and seeing that value. And so that comes like through that's like microdosing. What is this light? That's like microdosing. And I don't know if that's a good example because it feels like I can only really speak from my own experience. And so like I say, when I say God spoon-fed me, God gave me those bits and those pieces. I didn't have it. Like you can say you cannot have something that you are not. But I didn't have these things, and I had no reason to really believe in these things. I didn't really even have a desire for these things, like wealth and money. God, expressed that to me, that was something that I was going to have with ease. God expressed to me that was something that was a natural birthright for me. God expressed to me that that's something that I didn't have to fight for. I don't know. I wasn't thinking about anything. I'm going to be honest with you. When I was in high school, I honestly didn't think that I was going to make it past high school. I honestly thought I was going to kill myself. And so it surprised me when I just was somehow still alive. And I actually graduated because I tried to sabotage myself. And I planned on killing myself before 2017 ended, but I did it, and just surprised me. Like I didn't ask for these things. I didn't expect these things. I didn't assume these things. I didn't believe in these things. And when I was younger, I didn't think to myself, you know what I want? Hella money. I want to be a bajillionaire. I want to have a huge mansion. When I was a kid, I was like, I think I'll be fine with just a regular job and maybe a red brick house. I don't know, something slight, a cute little apartment. I don't know. I don't have many aspirations. I don't care. I'm telling you, I didn't really think of these things when I was growing up. Dream big. I didn't do stuff like that. God brought that to me. God said, this is for you. And so when something is for you, when Spirit wants you to know something, it just is. And maybe this isn't for everybody, because, some people have always believed in these things, and, maybe they are trying to create something intentionally in that way, and, the different methods for different folks, and that's okay. But for those of us, you didn't even want to, me personally, if you're like me, I didn't even want to survive, okay? I didn't have no plans. And so you telling me I got to put a left foot in, a right foot in, an elbow in, and I got to sacrifice my first big toe just to survive and manifest certain things? That doesn't resonate with my soul, bro, because I've been fighting all my life. I don't want to fight just to live for the rest of my life. And that energy, it doesn't come with fighting. It doesn't come with trying to intentionally get in the spot or do something specific. It comes with just being. If you're like me, it's that just being is just enough. Just being is all you need. Just being authentic is the way to manifest, is the way to create, is just existing and calling in. If I just exist and I reach for something and I believe that I'm going to have it because that's what I want, it just is. There's no putting in ones and twos. There's no this and that. It just is that. And it really is that simple. And people try to tell you, you have to do this, you have to be that, you have to whatever. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything. And I know that there are going to be people who don't believe this, who don't resonate with this, who don't feel this, and that's fine. Why? Because I'm not fighting for anybody to understand me. I'm not even going out of my way to go be understood. I'm just placing myself in position and expressing what I know to be true, and you come to it and you resonate with it if you resonate with it, or you don't. That's it. That's it. That's it. There's no extra fight. There's no extra, let me go try and broadcast or monetize this in this way. It just is. It's here, and this is where it's supposed to be. God asked me to do this, and that's what I'm doing. I got the inclination, and that's what I'm doing. Other than that, I don't want no parts of it. That's not in my forte. That's not my plan. And I'm not saying that should never be done, because maybe a part of God's plan is to have somebody else come in and say, hey, I want to do this for you, because that's what they like to do. But if I was doing that for myself, how would I be in position for somebody to see that I needed that? You see see what I'm saying? Just always being authentic is the way to manifest. I'm telling you, like, maybe not for everybody. Maybe for some people it really is like, oh, get into your space of one young warrior. You have to be in complete zen. Like, I'm sure, like, the top-notch gurus know what they're talking about when it comes to that realm of people, okay? But this is a different realm of people. We are a different type of people, and we do not need to do all of that. We just exist, okay? We just are, and things just become, and it just is. And that is okay. That's okay. And I was saying, some people will die on the cross that crucified them because that is the boundaries that they need. Some people will fight to keep the shackles on their own feet because that liberation that people try to give to them will actually cause them to suffer more because it imposes on their natural boundaries that they need to exist safely. Right? If I say, go be free and fly away, little birdie, and then the birds fly away, but then they're like surrounded by hungry things that eat birds. I don't know what eats birds, but then they're surrounded by hungry things that eats birds, and that cage was actually their liberation and their freedom from the danger, and they should have been removed from this situation, not set free. You see what I'm saying? Like, different strokes for different folks. But let's say I'm another thing that was in a cage and I get set free and I'm not eaten. You know, then at those times that liberation feels like genuine liberation, not like liberation master slavery, which a lot of people do in a lot of ways. Like liberation master slavery, like when people overly sexualize themselves because they've been taken advantage of sexually in one way or the next, and that over-sexualization feels like liberation, but it's actually another form of slavery. But clock that tea on another time. We talked about this before, a long time ago. In the summer last year, almost a year ago now, liberation on enemy terms. It's the same concept, it's the same idea, just approached in a different way. And the point that I wanted to make, the thing that I wanted to say was, I don't know, I'm not a well-versed, book-smart person when it comes to learning all this information. I have not studied the greats. I don't know about all different types of philosophies and things like that other people have already discovered. I'm just observing my own life and retelling my experience and what I've learned, and that's enough for me. I want to one day become a person who is book smart and who has the knowledge on all of these different people's perspectives and can really understand all of the greats. But for now, I want to be a person who just observes their own life, who just studies their own life, who comes up with their own conclusions, who makes their own philosophical terms, even if other people have already invented them. Because I want to discover for myself. And so I'm okay with that. I'm fine with the fact that I didn't grow up learning all of that information. I'm fine with the fact that I'm not super book smart, because there's a season and a reason for everything. And once I discover life through my own lens, right? Because if I listen to what everyone else was saying, like I said, so many of my own philosophies of what I've discovered, what I've observed throughout life, directly conflicts with so many of the mainstream things that I just randomly hear people say. And I don't know, like, it could be like those people are saying those things, but they aren't really internalizing those things, so they're not getting it exactly the way that it is. Maybe they're missing out on some of the nuance, but because I haven't read it myself, and so I don't know if anybody has read it for themselves or if everybody's just repeating the same thing that everybody else said. But I don't agree. Like, whatever the case is, I still just don't agree with what I've heard. And I think that it directly contradicts what I believe in. And so I'm glad. I'm glad that I don't know a lot of that stuff. I'm glad that I haven't read about a lot of that stuff. Because imagine all of the things that I would have to unlearn just to learn myself. I don't have to do that because I don't know anything. Aha! Checkmate! Know nothing, and you won't have to fight to know something. And so that works for me. And yeah, I'm just wanting to say that. Just don't be afraid to explore and expand within your own mind, because you could be trying to fight so hard to do what everybody else says is right, but if you don't even know your own central space, your own grounding, if you don't know your own starting point, you're going to be lost. And I think that I'm glad that I had my own starting point when it comes to like knowing myself and my spirituality and my personal philosophies. But some other examples and ways that I did not know my own starting point is like my skincare. Oh my God. I thought like, oh my gosh, I'm going to read all the books. I'm going to know all the information. I'm going to be the best skincare guru around town. And I was over exfoliating every single day. I was using skincare this, skincare that. And I literally just stopped. I literally stopped washing my... Oh, hi, little Becky. I literally stopped washing my face with, like, what do you call that stuff? Facial cleansers and stuff like that. And I just only use water now. And my skin has never been clearer. Can you believe it? Like, I studied all of this stuff, and it all just literally made my skin worse. I thought I was doing, like, I know about all the salicylic acid treatments and the retinols and the this and the that and the, you can't mix the AHAs and the BHAs together and blah, 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 blah. Like, I studied all that information only for my skin to just prefer to have nothing. Can you believe that? Like, that's one example of when, like, I listened to what everybody else said I should do. Oh, your skin needs this, your skin needs that. I'm looking at it like this. Take this medication, take that medication. And I listened to that. And I believe that. And you know what? One thing that I noticed about my skin when I was growing up was when I wore makeup and I didn't wash my face, like when I just accidentally stepped in my makeup, I noticed that my skin would look better. And it was because, I think, I'm just like hypothesizing here, right? It was because I was not messing with my skin. Like, I just left it alone. And my skin was like having to fight for itself. It needed to try and cleanse itself. My skin was doing its own thing. And I remember my mom used to always tell me like I was wrong about stuff. Like, just be like, yeah, what you're observing doesn't make sense. You're wrong. Impossible. But the truth is, like, there's actually, like, only when you go specifically diving for these things, like, there's, like, mainstream information, and then there's information that you can find, but only if you go diving for it. And if you take the and oh my God, now I'm thinking about this, especially now in the age of AI, because AI will tell you one thing, and only if you are more well-versed on the topic do you know to question it and say, well, what about this? And then it will give you that disclaimer, but it will present information that is most mainstream as fact, and there's nothing else. They don't give you like caveats. They don't give you, oh, think about this all the time. Like, occasionally they do, like if it's a health situation, but 9 times out of 10, they're gonna just give you information like straight up, like flat face, and that's just not how information works. Like, there's so many levels to it. And I think that's the same type of vibe, like where, you know, the mainstream ideology or the mainstream philosophy or the mainstream path, man, is to do this and to do that and to believe in this and to believe in that. But if you actually listen to your own inner compass, like, I'm not saying like just because it's mainstream it's wrong, like, because maybe that's what your inner compass is telling you and guiding you towards as well. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying whatever your inner compass believes in, if you actually listen to that and go intentionally seeking that, you just might find it. Because some of the things that I believed in, I felt like, oh, I have to believe in them all on my own. I have to stand for them all on my own. But then I hear other people who have the same ideologies, who have the same beliefs, but you just have to go looking for it. Because the mainstream will tell you one thing, it will present it one way, but that doesn't mean that it's the only way. And that's okay. And that's okay, because that's what knowledge is. Everything is not supposed to be one size fits all. And everything doesn't have to balance each other out either. Everything doesn't have to fit in like a puzzle piece. Oh, this is true and that is true. No, sometimes this is true in this situation and this is not true in this situation. And when that's not true, or maybe even when this is true, this is also true, but just in different places, in different circumstances. But whatever the case, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, like, it's okay to have your own opinions. Like, hello. You don't have to believe in what everybody else believes in. You don't have to think the way that everybody else thinks. You don't have to process the way that everybody else processes. And that's okay.
Good morning.
Good morning. Like, you can just be yourself. And I think now more than ever, it's important for us to take some time to learn ourselves. It's important for us to take breaks and ask ourselves, you know, who are we? What do we believe in? Because, and not even just who are we, what do we believe in? Like, what have I observed throughout my life? What have I experienced throughout my life? What do I stand for? What do I not stand for? What have I experienced that I don't want to experience anymore? What have I experienced that I want to experience a little more of? Maybe I want to go in depth with that a little bit. To ask those questions. To, well, to ask those questions, to observe our own life, because again, life is not a one size fits all. And you can't, I mean, you could, I mean, if it works for you, then that's your thing. Like, I'm not gonna say like, oh, you can't do this, because maybe you can, right? I can't do that. Like, I can't like observe life through somebody else's lens, through a book, or through somebody else's experiences, and try and decode my life, because it just doesn't work that way. I have to observe and internalize my own experiences, come to my own conclusions, because I was made as me. My experiences are mine. The same way that there are so many philosophies is the same way that my own philosophy will be built. My own outlook, my own perspective will be created throughout my experiences. And if I take information that other people have created through their experiences and try and make it fit into my life, it might not work well. It could, but then the other question I have would be, is it working well because I'm forcing everything in my life to fit into that bubble and I'm missing out on an experience that could have existed beyond that? Am I missing out on my own personal life? That's a question for me that I would have. But, maybe that's not for everybody. And that's okay too. Like I said, going back to those personal boundaries that everyone has, some people, they don't have time to think about stuff like that. Like, they don't want to think about stuff like that. They just want to find something, stick to it, and keep going. That's where my personal passion is, in exploring life in that way. And that's not for everybody. And that's okay. And so, the message still does remain the same. Just follow your own inner compass. Do what works best for you. And if that means learning from other people, do that. If that means being well prepared, right? Because let's put it in a different perspective. If that means being well prepared for reality and understanding all different types of perspectives to create your own, do that. Because that's what works for you. If that means denying other information to come in and instead focusing on your own experience, do that, because that's what works for you. And love it. And love it. And love it. Good morning. I wanted to give a small disclaimer about what I said. I do believe that you can attract things or manifest things even if you are not aligned with it, even if you feel like you don't deserve it, even if you don't believe in it. But the thing about feeling like you don't deserve it or not really believing in it is you can attract it, but you might not know how to maintain it. You might not know what to do with it. Even just being in that state of, because I believe that you can manifest even when you're not peaceful and serene and calm, but the not being peaceful and serene and calm will place you in an emotion of discomfort and anxiety in such a way where when you get that thing, you aren't thinking clearly or level-headed enough to use it properly. And you could calm down, right? You could take some time, you could set it aside. I would recommend, 10 out of 10 I would recommend, because I have, like I said, this is all from my own experience. I have manifested things, I have been blessed with things, even when I didn't believe, even when I didn't have faith, even when I was scared, even when I wasn't in quote unquote alignment. But when I got it, I was so riled up that I didn't really know how to maintain it. And I saw the blessing as a curse more than anything, because I didn't know how to acknowledge and appreciate it properly. So just that disclaimer I wanted to say. Okay, and just because you feel like you don't deserve it, and even though you got it, and just because you accidentally mess it up, doesn't mean that you're not gonna get it again. Just because you didn't know how to utilize it properly doesn't mean it's not gonna happen again. You maybe didn't know how to use it. That doesn't mean you're undeserving of it. You maybe fumbled it. That doesn't mean you're a horrible person or you're never going to get the opportunity again and you deserve to be punished. No. I think the point of that is also to say you can have something and grow into it. You can receive something and learn through receiving. There's this ideology of either you have it or you don't. There's this belief that it's all together or it's nothing at all, or there's suffering and then there's peace. But we can choose another option, and that is learning through that love, right? Learning is a task. It's not something that's done once we're complete. It's the process towards completion, and we can do that. That is possible. It's okay to receive and grow at the same time. It's okay to learn and be blessed all at the same time.